What's up, YouTube? Coach Scott Yurgz here at the beautiful but very windy Philadelphia Cricket Club today, and we are going to learn a little bit about the arms and why you keep messing these up in the backswing. I've seen a lot of players lately with some bent arms when they're making their backswings, and it's making them very poor ball strikers. I've got the answer for you. You're not going to believe what it is. Stick around. Let's learn something new today. Let's do it. One of the worst problems I see on the range of amateur golfers every single day is their inability to keep their lead arm straight as they take the club back. A lot of them will take it back and that lead arm will bend and fold. This arm is vitally important to making you a really good ball striker. It's not just there to make the swing look pretty. Let me explain why this arm is so important. From a face-on view, the golf swing's a very simple machine, and the most important part of that machine is the radius that we swing the golf club on, and that starts at the lead shoulder. The lead shoulder is connected to the lead arm, obviously, and the lead arm has our lead wrist connected to it. And what you're going to notice is when I make golf swings, and when all expert players, for the most part, make golf swings, the radius at which they swing on, this shoulder to this lead wrist, that radius stays, for the most part, fairly consistent and never quite changes at all. When amateur golfers play golf, that radius is constantly changing. So from swing to swing, one of my students might swing the club back and their arms might be perfectly straight at address. And by mid backswing, that lead elbow's bent 10 degrees and then 20 at the top. Well, guess what? When they make that downswing, they're going to have to figure out how to unload 20 degrees of elbow bend at the exact right time back into the ball. And guess what? Some people can do that. Bad news is a lot of people can't. So our goal today is to figure out how can we get you, the viewer, to keep your lead arm straight for longer. The answer is actually has nothing to do with the lead arm. It's actually got everything to do with the trail. All right, so you're probably asking yourself, Coach Scott, if you're telling me the answer is just my trail arm, just tell me to make my trail arm longer and straighter. Won't that just make everything long and straight? Well, yes, but it's not as easy as that. I wouldn't be making this entire video if it was so simple. So here's what we need to do first. The setup is vitally important to making the trail arm function properly so the lead arm can function properly. So at address, what I need you to do is I need to set up a very specific way. So that lead arm, yes, is going to be long and straight, and we're going to put that in our normal position. So make sure there's a little bit of tension in there, make sure it's long and straight, and keep that radius in check. To apply the trail arm, what you're going to notice is I'm going to take that arm and I'm going to feel like I'm holding something in my hand out front of me. So right, just like this. From there, we're going to pull that trail arm in towards my belly, just like this. And then I'm going to rotate my forearm to drop the ball out towards the golf club. So now I've almost got myself in a position where the arm is bent slightly. It is going to sit on that golf club. It's going to feel soft. It's going to feel bent. The reason we start with a bent trail forearm is so we can put that trail shoulder into a little bit of external rotation. So from this angle, you'll see this way, a little bit of external rotation. That is a good thing. That's going to set us up for keeping our arm straight on the backswing. So when you set up, things to note from the down the line camera angle, if you do this properly, elbow pulls in, forearm rotates this way. What you're going to see is you're going to see a little bit more of that lead forearm in front of the trail arm. If you're doing it properly, you're probably going to see the right forearm or the right arm get in the way visually in the down the line view. So your job is from this camera angle, the down the line, set up, check yourself, make sure you externally rotate that trail arm under, flex it, and get it soft so you can set up to the golf ball properly to preset your trail arm to work properly. So now that we have all the pre-shot stuff done in our golf swing, let's talk about how we're going to use that trail arm to increase the length of our lead arm and make sure that radius stays consistent all the time. So at address, let's put ourselves back into a position of being successful. So trail arm externally rotated. And now when I apply my trail hand onto this lead hand, I'm going to make sure I've got the meaty part of my thumb pad placed just on top of my left or my lead thumb on the golf club. That's going to be really important. We're going to use that as a pressure point So when I apply my hand to that golf club, I'm going to make sure I've got a nice pressure point right there against the thumb of the lead hand. Now, the best swing thought I've ever felt for this is when that club starts to work its way back, I feel like I am pressing my right hand up against my left thumb as hard as I can. I'm going to press it and push it as far away from me as possible. A lot of players have a hard time just going, oh, I'm going to make my left arm really nice and straight. But they can't feel that. But what you can feel is you can feel some pressure and resistance up against that lead hand's thumb with that trail hand. For most of the swings I make, I'm going to feel like my left hand is pushing the butt end of the club or the handle of the club further away from me. Now, when you do this, what it does is because as the club's working back, your trail shoulder's already externally rotated, it's going to force your trail arm to be longer, it's going to force your lead arm to be longer, and from a down the line view, you're going to notice the trail arm is going to externally rotate even more. It's going to stay externally rotated. This is a great thing because most players that have a hard time keeping that lead arm long, they tend to lose that external rotation, and that trail elbow starts like out this way behind me, that chicken wing effect. That's not what we're going for here. So I want you to practice making some small swings at first, getting into the proper setup, and pressing that trail hand into the grip of the club, pushing it as far away from you as humanly possible. Now, when I work on this myself, I'll make sure I set up properly. I might even take a wedge to do this because it looks a little cooler and the ball gets up in the air. But I'll take my golf club, I'll set up, and I will press down into that lead hand, push that grip as far away from me as possible. And I'm going to just hit some little punch shots. And I'm just going to try my best to make good contact. You're going to notice that lead arm is going to feel really long, really straight. You might be a little sore the next day if you're not used to using your shoulders that way. Let's hit a couple more here. On all of these, what you're going to notice is the low point is forward. It's forward of the golf ball. I'm striking the ball first, and then the turf second. So let's do a couple more. And the contact's very crisp. That's what we want when we're out on the golf course. So from there, maybe I'd warm up, I'd hit 15, 20 shots with a wedge, and then I'd start to build it up a little bit. I'd start, hey, how can I go back a little bit further? What's really nice is once you get the club back to what we would call P2 or P3, what you're going to do from here is you're going to just pivot a little bit more. You're not going to try to make the arms do anything else. They're already where they belong. So what's nice is as we set up to this shot, we get it to P2 or P3 right here. We're just going to pivot and turn and strike the golf ball. There's not a lot more to the golf swing than that. We tend to overcomplicate things when the club works back, arms separate, wrists fold up, we add more hinge. Some of it's good, but for the most part, we don't need any more than that. We're going to keep building it up into a bigger and a bigger swing. Go a little bit faster, go a little bit faster. You'll keep hitting them a little further, a little straighter. And all the while, you're going to notice you're not really trying to keep your lead arm straight. The lead arm straight is a product of the trail arm being longer, more externally rotated, and you're going to see the effect by how you strike the golf ball. One thing to note is when you're doing this drill, you're probably going to ask like, well, I know my arm can't, be straight the entire time. My trail arm, it's impossible, right? Yeah, of course. Like, I can't make a one-handed swing, then try to get my other arm on the golf club. It's impossible. So it has to bend some amount, correct? How much? A good rule of thumb is this trail arm will bend, but never more than 90 degrees. So I don't need to see the trail arm bend more. As it bends more, your trail arm is going to stop externally rotating. It's going to start to work the other direction. That's what we see out of most of our, high handicap players, the players that hit across the golf ball the most and have that like chicken wing finish. So your job is make sure when you're doing these drills, trail arm gets long and straight. As it bends and folds, we're trying to prevent it from folding more than 90 degrees. All right, now once you get really proficient at practicing that and taking that to the golf course, make sure you start working on your longer clubs. The process, again, is still the same. We could take this Ping G430 driver, take the head cover off. We're going to set it up off the deck here. And we're gonna make sure the setup is exactly the same as we were talking about, trail arm externally rotated, all that good stuff. And what we're gonna try to make sure we do is I'm gonna practice pushing my trail arm out longer, feeling like my trail hand is pressing my lead hand's thumb further away from me. That'll get my trail arm longer, more externally rotated, makes the lead arm longer, makes hitting this golf shot significantly easier. So let's see if we can do this. Here we go. Okay, I think that just about does it. That was about 285 yards on the fly off the deck. Moral of the story is your trail arm is the solution to the problem of the lead arm. Do me a favor. When you're done watching this video, hit subscribe, like it, comment it. Let's just see how good we can get you over the next couple months, over the winter time, and get you back out playing some good golf this spring.